black cats got Dave N. The white hats, they got Doug. The Google search engine has... Welcome to the Jim and Ann Show. Ho ho. I'm Jim Boykin, the CEO and founder of Internet Marketing Ninjas, offering full-service internet marketing, including help with Panda.
And I'm Ann Smutty, the brand and community manager of Internet Marketing Ninjas.
So, Panda again.
Yes, we're talking a lot about Panda these days.
Yeah.
Why? Because there is a Panda update going on right now, and it's going to be rolling out for a couple of months, as they announced. So
maybe we need like a rankings time-lapse camera in the future to see like what happened. Well, I guess that's our penalty finder tool we have. But today we want to go in more to specific solutions if you've been hit by Panda. If you've been hit by Panda first, you're going to have to wait until the next Panda refresh to see if you do get out, and it's too late for the current one in a sense, so you're going to be waiting a bit. On this current Panda update that's slowly coming out, some sites will slowly lose all their rankings, and some sites that were hit will slowly gain back some rankings. Hopefully. Some, not all.
Yeah, and even I found that quote on Webmaster World thread. I really liked it.
Oh, the sliding down the razor?
No, the one about that even if you were not affected by Panda, you were not penalized or you were not recovered, you can still be affected by all those moving up and down things that are going on right now. Some of the recovered sites may go up above you. Some of your competitors may get penalized, so you go up, and you don't confuse it with the recovery. So even if you're not affected, you can still be affected in a sense.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, a lot of it. Yeah, if other sites in your neighborhood or sites that are linking to you are now valued lower in Google, that's certainly gonna.
Yeah, there are many ways you can still be affected by Panda. So it's not necessarily that you are penalized or recovered, but some of your neighbors or your competitors, and thus you will be affected. The rankings will go up or down. This too.
So if you've been affected by Panda in the past, you probably saw a drop overnight. And in the future, you're really not going to know if you were affected by Panda for what maybe several months when you look back and say like, what happened? And so we're going to talk about, I guess, more specific solutions to what to do if you've been affected by Panda. We do lots of Panda analysis reports here to try and identify what's the problem and what's the solution. I guess, to jump right into some of those things, start out by going into the analytics and looking at every single section of the website differently. You're partially looking at what is the link path for the site, what are areas, the different, I get my hand in here, what are the areas of the site that are going to bring in different types of users. And you want to kind of, in a sense, go into the analytics and divide the sections of the website up and analyze each one of those sections. Often you can do it by URLs. Not always can you do it by URLs. By URLs, looking into the folders and subfolders. If it's not with the URLs, let's say everything is off the root, you have to look more at the patterns of where users are going through the website and section those off. After you section them off, you're then going to want to look at a couple things. When looking at hits and traffic, we tend to look at two things. Of course, you're looking at the analytics. What has fallen and when. And if let's say a website has 10 different sections in it. Let's say you have 10 different main sections of the website. And in those 10 sections, you're going to look at the overall traffic drops in each one of those sections. Often you may find that some of those areas had bigger drops than others. Some took a 80% drop, some took a 20% drop. You also want to analyze it on different types of pages, so you're also looking at not only the folders and paths and trying to analyze that traffic. You're also looking at what are the different types of pages. There's 7 different templates of different pages throughout the website, and you want to look at, well, how are they treating these pages and these pages and these pages together in groups. And what you're looking for is, if you're hit by Panda, everything goes down. But some things, often you can get some signals when you see that some things went down by others. Maybe one of the sections is the traffic has fallen by 80% and another section only fell by 20%. Well, they probably like the 20%, and why it's fallen by 20% is because 20% of the links on those pages link out to these bad pages in that other folder, and that's lowering the value of that page. So part of it is looking at what are the biggest hits. And then specifically looking at those areas, and again, how many pages, how are users reacting to it, but kind of isolating it's either these types of pages or these folders or these user paths that are the biggest issue. And then if you can compare those to what are the ones that Google liked. By liked I mean they didn't fall as much as the others, so look at those that didn't fall as much and be like, all right, what are some of the differences between these as well? That's going to be one of the things we're going to look at, not only with the analytics, but we want to line up the analytics with keyword ranking analysis during these times as well. So using tools like SpyFu and SEMrush, and looking at the phrases that they're ranking for before and after, and looking at what was hit. We have a private tool where basically we export the ranking and keyword data prior to a penalty, and then we import all the ranking and keyword data after the penalty, and we compare the two. We compare them by URLs first, to be like, what are the URLs that took the biggest hit, the biggest drop, and which ones had the biggest increase, where we can order them by which ones were hit the most, and look at everything on a URL level. And then also we can look at everything on a keyword level with that particular report. What are words and phrases that have dropped? And if you see that one of the folders always has the phrase, furniture in it, then it's like, all right, and all the furniture phrases were hit, then there's the issue.
So
there.
Basically, the first step is to find the patterns, like what you would do with Penguin as well. You are looking for the patterns, but with Penguin you are looking for backlink patterns, and here you look for on-site, what Google didn't like particularly, and then you can identify that, hey, he didn't like this folder, so that's where I should be working on.
The solutions are, even identifying that's one thing. The solutions are always the same. You have to make your site smaller. Your site that used to be 10,000 pages, that's now 100,000 pages, should probably be 2,000 pages. I guess first, if you look at all the traffic that you get from Google, even before you were hit, and what are the landing pages that Google is actually landing on to come to your website, those are going to be the URLs of value. Everything else really isn't any value, and you have to think, well, maybe I can keep all these pages here for the users. Maybe users of the website can go in and see all, in the example you gave before is the picture website. And user can go in, as far as the user knows, it's all there. But as far as Google knows, it stopped. All new users or people without X amount of pluses or whatever, Google doesn't see it. So even though you're supposed to create sites for the users and not think about the search engines, sometimes you got to think about the search engines. And the answer is making the site smaller and less and flatter. Your 100,000 page website that's so many levels down, you have to cut down on those levels. You gotta, you can either canonical pages together. You can instead of having all those product pages, just have the page that lists the 20 products on it. Have those, or you can't have pages like, let's say you got a car part site, and you can't have thousands of pages of different spark plug pages without enough unique content on them. You got to do something with canonical in them, or stopping certain levels from being indexed in Google. and you've got to send a major different signal to Google. I interestingly enough was talking to a site this morning that may have been affected by a panda, and another one of the other suggestions we had was linking out to trusted websites. Here's an interesting thing with Panda. A lot of the sites that are hit are sites that have location pages. That's one of the easiest, in a sense, for Google to pick up on unnatural SEO pages. You just replace the city name for another city name, or you try and get fancy and you spin content. Meaning all different variations of stuff pasted together, or just very little content near duplicate pages. But location pages. One of the things that we do with writing location pages, especially for people that have been affected by Panda, one of them is going to be, if you have a location page, you better be mentioning landmarks in that area. If you have a page about, I don't know, New York City, something, along with a bunch of other cities, you should be talking about Wall Street, the Statue of Liberty, the Freedom Tower. Like, you need to mention landmarks there. That's one of the easiest way for Google to nail a site, is you have thousands of location pages and you don't mention a landmark on any one of them. It's kind of Panda proofing as well to start mentioning landmarks on those. Another is
entities.
Yeah.
Concepts.
And just having a bunch of pages that mention cities, but there's another little secret trick that we have up our sleeve as well for Panda proofing pages, especially local pages, is not only do we mention actual locations on there, but we also add in some external links on pages. And we may have anywhere from 1 to 5 external links on a particular
like gov
location.
sites, right?
Yeah, govs, edus, orgs, .coms that are trusted, like pretty much any trusted site. And it's not just linking to home pages of other sites either. It's like you got to have some deep links. Deep link to a Princeton page about Albany, New York, or something. Not just home pages. So home page every now and then is okay, but adding extra. If you pretty much have a local page that has unique content. And you're mentioning places and your external links on there that are trusted, that's going to be a huge way to Panda proof. I think another thing is not having patterns. If we're writing 1,000 pages of content about the 1,000 top cities, the directions vary on everything. Pages are going to be anywhere from 200 to 700 words, and they're going to, and everything in between. And there is no number of paragraphs. Like if you basically have 1,000 pages of content, and all those 1,000 pages all have 3 paragraphs of content, and the top paragraph is all between 115 and 125 words, and the middle paragraph is all between 150 and 175 words, and the third paragraph is all between. It's like, that's a bad pattern.
You forgot the keyword density.
Yeah, the keyword density is roughly all that stuff is bad, and it's patterns, and it's what Google is looking for, and it's what they're filtering and in a sense penalizing, and things like Panda updates. And so the whole thing is not to set patterns. Like even when you tell people about the number of links to put on a page, it's on the first page you're gonna put 1, on the second page you're gonna put 2, third page you're gonna put 3, and it's like, I always say, there's and all different lengths of content, and just no patterns, everything being unique. And if you have everything unique and use a couple of these tricks that I just mentioned about mentioning locations and adding some external links, you're going to be Panda proof. And the more your pages fit a pattern of all the same size, shape, content, without doing things like mentioning places and cities, you're in trouble. How do I say, Google is so good at analyzing sets of pages, and if they all look like duplicates, a lot of that stuff that appears to be duplicate, no matter how much you think it's not, it can get devalued and can hurt your whole site. First, if it's devalued, a certain amount of it just in a sense won't count and maybe won't hurt your site. Like you can have a certain amount of low quality stuff on your website without being hurt. It's kind of like, all right, Google may not rank a bunch of the pages, but if suddenly we took internetmarketingninjas.com, and I don't know how many pages we have, maybe 10,000, and if suddenly we released another 90,000 pages, Google's going to take note of that, and they're going to say, all right, you can't support this many. Somehow that was machine generated. None of these pages have signals. And kind of another thing of note as well is, if we release 90,000 pages overnight, Google instantly will start indexing those. And there's a couple things will happen. The first thing is there's going to be a tasting period, which means they may new pages on an old trusted site kind of may get an initial boost, and Google's like, all right, we found a new page, it's an old trusted site, we're going to put it in the top 10 for some phrases and see how people interact with the page. And if the signals are great, then nothing else matters. If the signals are okay, then some of the other things are going to matter, and if the signals are bad, you're going to drop anyways within those search results after that tasting period.
It's interesting that I've seen so many people saying that before being penalized, they get a traffic boost.
Yeah, exactly. Or as part of that tasting period.
I've read a lot about that.
And then, let's say that their signals are just okay. All right, we tasted the pages and it was okay. Then Google is going to look at other things, or Bing, or any engine, and one of the other things they're going to look at is, wow, you released 90,000 pages overnight. Did any of those pages get any signals? It's been 3 months. We gave it a ranking boost. We know people saw it. Did anyone ever tweet any of that? Did anyone ever link to any of that? And if it's been 3 months and the signals weren't great, Google's going to be like, wait a minute, and take the whole 90,000 pages and put it into what used to be known as the supplemental results, but whatever they do to it these days, it's not going to rank. And the problem is if 90% of your site is in what used to be known as a supplemental result or whatever, Google doesn't like it. Now you could trip a filter, because Google's like, 90% of your site we don't like, and it has this negative value, and now your 10,000 or whatever pages that you did have that were good and we liked, suddenly we don't like them as much because it's linking to all this crap, and it affects all your main site. And talking about solutions, it's you gotta cut down on the amount of pages. I guess that's really the biggest thing. If sometimes I talk to people like, yeah, we were hit by Panda. What is it that you did? Well, we edited the usability. We did some other things. We deleted some pages. Well, how many pages did you delete? Oh, hundreds. Yeah, but your site's a 500,000 page website. Like, hundreds is not the answer. No, you're not going anywhere the next update. There was a blog post I did with there was a company, I'm not going to mention the name, but a huge, large company. You would know the name. And they got hit by a Panda, and their traffic is down, I think, about 80% in Google Organic. And when I first talked to them and talking about what are the things that they had done, they said, well, we've cut down the content by 15%. And I'm like, no. Like, this is I don't know, a 10 million page website, a very big website, a big content website, and cutting down that site by 15% is not going to get them out of Panda, in my opinion. They still had so many near duplicate pages on the site with simple variations. To me, well, after consulting with them, I think we made plans to cut out about 80% of the website at the end. And that 80% of the website, a lot of it was we're just not going to show this to Google. It's still there for the users. I still see value in all this, but you know what? We're gonna block off a lot in the robot text from Google. We're gonna no index follow others. We're gonna canonical some others.
So while we're here, let's discuss how do exactly we cut down. Do we remove the pages? Do we throw 144 robots, no index? What exactly? How exactly are we cutting down 80% of the website? What are the options, at least? I mean, that it can vary from site to site because every situation is custom, so there is no like cookie cutter here. There is no one solution to everyone. But at least, what are the options?
I'd say in most of the cases, most of the time we're blocking things with robot text, blocking entire folders. Um, that's one of the biggest. It's one of the biggest and one of the easiest. If you're canonically pages, meaning you have lots of very similar pages, often it's harder. Often sites that are hit by Panda are larger websites. I guess that's if you only have 500 pages of content, your odds of being hit by Panda are really low. You don't have enough, most of the time, bad stuff if you only have a 500 page website to trip a filter, usually. Often it's the bigger the site, the more pages you have, I guess the more prone you're going to be, especially, I mean, if you're eBay or Amazon and you have 1,000,000 links, you can support 100 million pages. If you're Bob with 50 links, you cannot support 10,000 pages on your website. Most of those are going to get trashed. Often it's robot text, sometimes canonical. It's hard to give an exact way. Things, other times clients aren't using things like rel previous. Often websites aren't using things like rel previous, rel next. That often can be added to pages. Sometimes they just have page 1 index, page 2 index, and rel previous and rel next.
And sometimes can you move to subdomains?
What's that?
Does it help if you move to a subdomain?
Oh, great question. Great question. There was a famous site that got affected by one of the very first Penguin updates. And what they did is the site was originally done by Topics. I don't want to bring up the name of the company, but the site was originally done by Topics. So it was a content site with lots of people writing for it, thousands of people writing for this site. And you could go to the site and it was kind of like the old Yahoo directory where you could all right, I want to go into computers and internet and I don't know, SEOs or whatever it is. You go into topic categories and in there you'd see a bunch of articles written by a bunch of different people. And this site took a huge hit in rankings. And what they did is they rearranged the whole website by author names. So instead of going in by topic, you could kind of go into topic, but the author pages were all done on subdomains. So if Bob Smith wrote an article about Major League Baseball in this place, it used to be like under, /sports/baseball. Now it's you're still going to find it that way, but the actual URL of that page is now something like bsmith.bigcontentsite.com. They moved all the URLs of the pages into a subdomain for each author. And the interesting effect of that is that the site ended up getting back something like 80% of the traffic when they did that. And what happened is, like, the really good authors that wrote really good content, all their stuff basically recovered. All the rankings came back. And all the stuff that was the junk stuff written by people that English wasn't their first language and just stuff that had really bad user signals and link signals and near duplicate content stuff, all that, and all that stuff, things like all about how to sit on a couch, and then another article about how to sit on a sofa, and then how to sit on a chair, like all of those, all that junk stuff that people were just writing in a sense for SEO purposes. We need all this content. The more the better. How cheap can we get it was the old game. And those people that really took their time writing and wrote good stuff, and that stuff got signals, all that content on those subdomains for the authors all went up. That was actually a really, really big thing. And there's actually been a couple of clients where we've recommended putting certain things on subdomains, because subdomains are kind of treated in many regards as a separate website and have their own separate trust on it. And if you do things like separate your content into different subdomains, you can kind of find out what Google liked or didn't like.
The black cat's got Dave in. The white hats, they got dug. Google search engine has a Mr. Matt cut.